Day after the time change and all getting acclimated to that. I'm a guy that, in all honesty, full disclosure, I liked it when I lived in Indiana for 5 short years that we never changed the time. Just kept the same time all year round. I think that was better for dairy cows as well as human beings, but in my house, I lose that vote. My wife likes the time change. And so we live with it here. But glad that you showed up today. We're delighted to have the opportunity. We had scheduled 3 town halls after the election, and sadly, or I guess we scheduled more than 3, but 3 were disrupted by change in scheduling. We were able to take one of those back and get that completed, and so this will be the third town hall since the election that we've been able to do. I don't know about you, the fact that you're here probably means that you appreciate these coffees and town hills, at least the opportunity to hear an update from your member of Congress and express your points of view and concerns. I certainly appreciate them. That's why we did 70 live town halls last term. We plan to keep up doing the town halls. We do them differently, as you know, than a few other members that actually do town halls in Congress. Generally do huge events at the major city in their district. We try to do events all across the district and go to townships, small communities, as well as Jackson and Monroe, and some of the larger communities as well. And we're trying to give an opportunity for people in those localities to have a chance to meet with their member of Congress. As far as I know, that's the design that our framers and founders had for our system of government, especially with the People's House representative, who represents a district and not the state. And while I love Michigan, and I'll fight for Michigan, yet it's the 7th district that means the most to me, because that's really who I represent. So we're glad to be back here in Dexter today and doing this town hall. If you've been keeping up, as I assume you have been, with what's going on in the life and times of Washington, D.C. right now, it's an interesting place. And I go back shortly after this, head over to the Metro and get on a plane and fly back to D.C., not knowing absolutely for certain what this week will portend. But if it was like last week, it was an amazing week, where we ended up voting on only two pieces of legislation, that being H.R. 1, that we finished up on Friday, which was the alleged election reform bill. We can talk about that if you'd like. And we can also talk about the other one. I believe it was H.R. 8, which was a bill that, or a resolution, that was supposed to take issue with some comments made, anti-Semitic comments made by Representative Omar, continuing anti-Semitic comments being made that questioned patriotism of members of Congress who supported Israel, which is the majority of us, Democrat and Republican. And it was interesting to watch what went on last week as they tried somehow to decide who was Speaker of the House for the week. And ultimately, at the end of the week, on Thursday afternoon, finally a vote was taken that was just a nebulous resolution against being anti about anything. And it's hard to vote against something like that, because I'm not anti-Semitic, I'm not racist, I'm not anti-Islam. I'm a pretty positive guy on some of those things, because America opens the opportunity for freedom in this country. We are a pluralistic country in everything, including our religion and all of the rest. So those were the 2 bills, and those disrupted almost every action last week. And so we'll see what happens this week. There's a quote as we start this new round of town halls. It was a quote given by a famous world leader who said, "America is like a healthy body, and its resistance is threefold. Note what he said. It's patriotism, it's morality, it's spiritual life. Went on to say, if we can undermine these three areas, America will collapse from within. That's a pretty scary thought. I mean, the greatness of America, and we sit here in a veterans service club facility that is special because of the impact of what our military has done in preserving, first claiming our freedoms, and then handing it off to members of the citizenry to develop a totally unique, never been tried before, system of government for America that had never been tried ever in any place in the world. A great experiment in democracy under a constitution. It's called a republic. And lo and behold, it worked. And really, relatively speaking, in the history of the world, a short history for this great country, we've come to lead the world in almost every area, as long as we can remember. And that's a pretty neat concept, and it was based upon those three specific things: patriotism, morality, and our spirituality.
Who's that quote from?
That's a quote of a world leader. Let me ask, who do you think it's from?
I've heard you repeat it before.
Who do you think it's from?
You attributed it to Joseph Stalin?
Joseph Stalin. Isn't that something? He caught it. He caught the uniqueness of the strength of America. If you can undermine that, America would collapse from within. So when I go back to Washington and I see what's going on right now, and I see a majority that's struggling to keep unity amongst themselves in the House, who debate the ideas even of what Americanism is all about, it ignites me more to be involved in promoting the greatness of America. Last week, and I state this, then we'll go to the questions, and the judge is still trying to put them all together. Thank you so much, Judge Fink, for your willingness to do this. Came out last week, unbeknownst to me, and I say this because I think it's special for this district that I represent. We've done a significant amount of work to keep promises that we made that I believe are promises that are based upon what this country is all about. It's conservatism, it's a unique place of a governmental system run by the people under a constitution. It works. So that's been my premise. And so in the past, it's been recorded that I'm the most conservative member, lifetime rating for our Michigan delegation. And I wear that proudly. I've never denied that I'm a conservative. And that's what elections are all about, to elect who you want to represent. And I appreciate the privilege of representing the 7th District. But then the question comes, can you do it effectively in a district like this? That is a swing district, and has swung both ways in our recent history. Last week it came out from a nonpartisan organization that I was rated as the most effective legislator in the Michigan Republican delegation. 30th most effective out of 244 Republicans in Congress. Now that's pretty unique, especially when you look on the Democrat side, who was rated the most effective Democrat of our Michigan delegation. That was Debbie Dingell. If you've watched our records, we work together quite often. On the issues that we can agree on, we work together. We've sponsored bills together. We've had bills signed into law together. On those things, whether it's the Great Lakes issues, whether it's opioid heroin abuse, whether it's veterans issues, we've done town halls together. And so I think it's pretty cool. The two districts, I tell Debbie I hug her on three sides, with my district surrounding her on three sides, and working together, so when we can achieve things together in a bipartisan fashion, we do it. And so ranking 30th out of 244, and her ranking 89th out of 204, puts us both in the top 100 most effective legislators in Congress. I want to keep that going. The effective rating was based upon legislative advancements, committee assignments, and those type of things. And both of us serve on what we would tell you, and I think is true, the most powerful committee in the House, that's Energy and Commerce, affecting almost everything that goes on here in this great 7th district and in her 11th district. So for that reason, we want to keep representing according to commitments we've made and with the general needs of each of our districts. And so again, that's why we do these town halls, and based upon those, I think, Carl, why don't we go to the questions?
First of all, I want to see if this is about right for the volume. That seems to be all right? And several of you have asked, what am I doing up here with these cards? I was attempting unsuccessfully to try to kind of group the questions into particular areas, and I'll continue to do that. But that's what I was doing, and there are a lot of questions, and some of you have submitted 3 or 4, and probably what I'll do when I get to one of those, I'll put the others aside for a while. We'll see how we do with the time. But I'm not trying to keep anything out, except I was looking for an easy question for me to read, maybe something more. These are all going to be more difficult for you to deal with, I think. So once I read this, I'll be sitting down and just because it'll be easier. The instructions were that I would read the first name and where the person lives, not the last name. So, and this, I think this from Catherine, and lives in Dexter. Why must questions be submitted this way? Follow-up questions are not well addressed with this system.
Maybe, maybe not. We've done it from long years of experience of trying to make this hour, which is always a short hour, as efficient and as effective as possible, and allowing more people to ask their key questions than just a few people that I know have follow-up issues, but many times that just drags on and on. And sometimes we've seen very clearly that it becomes just really an opportunity for disagreement to continue on. And so we're doing our best to get the questions, and that's the reason we've done it. We've done it both ways, and there are some in smaller settings. There are some times when we won't even do the cards. But today, this is large enough that we want to get through as much as possible. If you've been on my teletown halls, you've heard in the last 2 teletown halls, I've taken a different approach as well. That we take the question, and then like on normal talk shows, we cut it off, answer the question, move on. It was averaging 12 questions and answers over the course of an hour on the phone. And now we've gotten up approaching 20. That makes a lot of people more happy, having sat on the line waiting and then not getting a chance to even ask a question. So we're doing our best to cover the time.
This question is from Diane and Chelsea, and it may be a statement, but we'll ask you for your response. In my opinion, the Republican Party is not pro-life, rather pro-birth. Once that baby is born, the Republican Party works hard to cut food, medical attention from that baby that give even minimum quality of life. Also, the baby the parents couldn't afford wouldn't have been born in the first place if the Republicans didn't shut down women's health centers that provide birth control. Your comment on that, please.
Well, you might guess I disagree with it very firmly. As a Republican, I've strongly supported life after life. I served on a charter board of an adoption agency. I served on a board of a pregnancy care center that had a shepherding home as well for unwed mothers, and has a ministry to unwed fathers as well, and trying to disciple them to become men that take responsibility. I've supported legislation that provides social welfare assistance, including food assistance, to people truly in need. And I've also done, I think, what is a pro-life position as well, in supporting legislation that would encourage work-capable individuals to perform some hours of work at least for things like their food stamps. In America, we hurt people if we just allow people to receive care but no responsibility with it. We've seen that with the burgeoning of the food stamp program under the last administration, tremendously increased. We saw that. Did that help people? No.
Yes.
And now we've seen, as a result of good policies, economic policies, the lowest unemployment rate in the 50 years, a continued increase in wages for the middle class wage increases. We've seen that continue. An economy that's strong, with 7 million jobs still going lacking for people to fill them. And that's why I've spent a significant amount of time developing proposals for career and technical education to get people into a work situation that will secure them for life. So I see that as life, but I also stand in opposition, as you saw my efforts, and you saw the Senate's efforts to bring up a bill that simply said a child born alive after a botched abortion should get the same care in a hospital that any born alive infant receives. Overwhelming numbers in America support that same position. But we couldn't get the 8 Democrats in the Senate to allow that bill even be brought up for consideration. Only got 3. And in the House, we've been blocked in every case for about 4 weeks now, and trying to get the same bill up, Ann Wagner's bill that I've co-sponsored as well, the Born Alive bill, that simply says if a baby lives after an abortion attempt, is born alive, we take care of that baby in the same way we would take care of any other baby. That's pro-life.
Gina, Gregory, I take it washed out, maybe, anyway, Gregory, what can be done to prevent tax increases, including the proposed, I'm sorry, let me start over again. This is from Gina, the Gregory mailing address. What can be done to prevent tax increases, including the proposed gas tax? What would be the most efficient ways to check that funds are being allocated properly? Example, taxes for schools, not working, want to keep dumping money when not accounted for.
Well, the only way to deal with that is make sure you're in contact with your legislative branch, your legislator, at each level of government that is considering tax increases or revenue enhancements, whatever term they use today. The gas tax that's being talked of, that's at the state level, so you need to talk with Donald Lazinski, for instance, and discuss what her position is on it. Any tax at the federal level that we're looking at, whether it's a tax in the New Green Deal or whatever, please keep in contact with me. At the local level, school boards are the people to talk to for any type of tax increases that go toward education, or certainly your county commissioners or your local township or village officials. Again, the price of liberty is eternal vigilance, was once said, and I think that's true. It's your liberty that's in question in your mind, so make sure that you keep in contact directly. You certainly, by evidence of being here today, are some of the minority, sadly, that really take an active involvement in their governmental system. You go to the school board, and you'll see another set of people. You go to a county commission, you'll see another set of people, but basically dealing with the issue at hand of that meeting. But that's an important thing to do.
This is from Sally, also with a Gregory address. What do you think should be done about PFAS contamination of our water supply?
We ought to clean it up, and that's another issue that Debbie Dingle and I, as well as Dale Kildee, are working on. Continue calling for the appropriate agencies to do the work. Fortunately, in Michigan, we're ahead of the game. During the last administration, a czar, it's not her exact title, but a czar was put in place to oversee all of that water contamination issue and to acquire the funding both from the state level, and the state has put some significant dollars into it. And Debbie and I and Dan and others are pushing the feds to up their responsibility with dollars that would go toward environmental cleanups with PFAS, PFOS, and any other thing that comes up. These are contaminants that we are now able to quantify and find. And we found them in numerous places, well, not numerous, but thus far in a number of places across the 7th District, in the Huron River, here in the Ann Arbor area as well. And we're working to clean it up and make sure that we don't let it continue, and also check on other things that might be contaminating as well.
This is from Susan, Lima Township. Last year, my federal withholding tax dropped $2.86 from my paycheck. Yet instead of receiving a tax refund, I now have to pay the IRS hundreds of dollars. The math doesn't add up. The GOP tax cut has not worked for me.
Well, I'm sorry it hasn't worked for you. I can't really comment on the specifics because I don't know the specifics. But if you'd like to contact my office, where we have
One
time.
question, would you like to ask me?
Not today. You've given your statement, and we've talked about it before, but you have a unique situation, and